When one looks at its fundamental parts, The Last of Us series is quite possibly one of the safest moves in television. It stars that guy who played that character we all liked in that series we all used to like, along with that girl who played that character we all liked in that same series that we all used to like. It's set in a genre that is certainly tried and tested with a timely gap to do so. And it's co-written by the guy who wrote the source material, so unsurprisingly, it should stay true as possible to said source. But keep in mind, this isn't just an adaptation of a game. This is an adaptation of a remake, of a remaster of a game. A game so very cinematic in its nature that a migration to television is not a difficult template to follow. You do not get any safer than that. I think it's important to establish at this point that this is not a review of the first episode, that, as of posting this, has just dropped. If you want that, here it is. It's good. The production, acting, and direction present a rock-solid foundation for what all indicates to be a good series and a faithful adaptation. But herein lies my concern. While watching, I had this nagging feeling at the back of my mind that prevented me from enjoying the episode. Being familiar with the original, I was well aware of the story beats, so I knew what was coming. The various developments that set the stage posed little surprise. But when the episode ended, I found myself, in spite of how good it was, unentertained. And more importantly, not particularly pleased with what I just watched. And it's taken me a few days to unpack how and why I feel this way. And the closest I can come to give a salient and concise reason is, I don't trust this show. Take the opening scene. This serves to establish the threat the world is facing, foreshadowing that things are going to go horribly wrong. In very short order, we have commentary that smacks of, a pandemic is coming, and you should listen to Science Man, with an extra helping of global warming's gonna getcha. Now, I don't have hard opinions on either of these topics, but like many, I don't appreciate being lectured in my entertainment with contemporary hot topics. It comes across more to the benefit of the writer's own soapbox than to my viewing pleasure. I'm here to watch zombies eat people, yo. To the show's credit, it's not ham-fisted, and frankly, it's good to see John Hannah getting work.
Jupiter's cock.
There goes any hope of monetization. It's totally worth it. My point being, in other situations, in other shows, that all would have gone over my head, with my only thought being, uh-oh, here come the zombies. But not here. I don't trust this show. It's like my reticular filter has been hard-coded to watch out for BS instead of just enjoying what's being presented to me. And my lack of trust flows from a singular source: the creator. You see, I believe Neil Druckmann suffers from something I like to call a bad case of the Waititis. It's a curious trend that creators who receive praise, love, and accolades for what they have created seem to sour towards those that heap said lionization upon them. There's a lot of talk online about creators that start to hate their audience, like they actively set out to punish those that love them for what they crafted. Diatribes lamenting the breakdown of the long-standing hero are ubiquitous online. But I have a theory. I don't think these are creators that hate the audience. These are creators that end up hating their own creations. It's as if they feel they can't escape what they have made. So great the creation that the gravity it exudes snares the one who made it, tying them together as an almost singular entity. You're no longer a person, but the person that made the thing. And as a creator, it's hard to make new art when it's constantly being measured to what gave the artist their greatness in the first place? Well, if you've made a thing, you can unmake it. Better still, unmake it while bolstering a new creation. And because the audience loved you the first time, surely they'll love you anew for this more recent effort. After all, you are bigger than the art. There's a truism that exists in literature where people are quick to correct a common and age-old misnomer. Frankenstein wasn't the monster, he was the doctor. But if you read between the lines, the truth, of course, is that Frankenstein was, indeed, the monster of the story. As much as the game The Last of Us Part 1 united the audience in their adoration of the story, Part 2 divided the fan base. It might surprise some that I'm kinda okay with the story decisions of 2. Not the execution, but I realize certain things needed to happen to push the narrative forward. But herein comes the issue. Neil Druckmann's response to this criticism was steeped in arrogance. Comments about "we don't do fun" and swinging at haters, sicking lawyers and issuing copyright bans against creators, and that's not getting into the questionable business practices at his studio. Not a good look. In a situation where there is widespread condemnation for something one has created, going on the offensive sends the wrong message. An artist's success is at the pleasure and appreciation of those that consume their art, and one has to respect that. The Last of Us series looks good, so far. In many ways, it has the markings of one of the best game adaptations we've seen. Granted, that's not a high bar. However, the quality is there. Some pessimists have argued that Pedro Pascal doesn't seem to have leading man potential. In this instance, I disagree. Playing a steely-faced, stoic fighting man, overcoming familial tragedy through unexpectedly being charged with a young war that is more special than meets the eye, is pretty much in his wheelhouse. Those on the other side of the argument, preaching optimism, are quick to point out that Craig Mazin shares the writing and creation credits for the show. And since he brought us the outstanding and harrowing Chernobyl, it stands to reason this show is going to be exceptional. Well, fair enough. But my concerns lie at the longevity of The Last of Us. Chernobyl is 5 episodes? Writing for a series that is intended to last multiple seasons requires a very particular creative stamina. Will he still love the work in 3, 4, 5 years in? Also, his previous writing pedigree is, spotty. At the start of the video, I drew some rather cheeky comparisons to another beloved HBO series. Hugely popular at the start, only to ostensibly be orphaned by its creators just so that they could be done with it. Such was their disdain for their creation. It really is a thing. Most of us know where this story is going, though. And while many are cheering its strong premiere, intoning, "Finally, a good gaming adaptation," there's a part of me that wishes that it was just poor from the start. Better to have a series that is consistently bad, or, even better, one of those rare gems that starts torrid only to find its greatness, than to fall from such meteoric heights, because that's when people really get upset. In spite of all that, I'm probably going to keep watching The Last of Us series. And no, not as a hate watch. I genuinely want to glean some level of enjoyment out of a series based on a remake, based on a remaster, based on a game I genuinely love. But I fear there'll always be a part of me waiting, at any moment, for it to completely and utterly shit the bed. That's what happens when you lose trust.